Hey y'all, welcome to another powerful, brand new story. I really hope you love it, and if you do, make sure to join the fam by hitting that subscribe button and dropping a comment to let us know where you're watching from. Let's dive in.
The biting wind whipped through the crowded streets of Chicago, scattering bits of trash and the distant sounds of car horns. On a cracked sidewalk near a busy intersection, 10-year-old Emma Carter held tightly onto her baby brother, Jacob. Wrapped in a faded, thin blanket, Jacob's small body was fragile and vulnerable against the harsh world around him. Emma's clothes were nothing more than worn-out hand-me-downs, patched in places and smelling faintly of smoke and rain. Her dark hair was tangled, and her big brown eyes had a weariness far beyond her years. But it was hope, a desperate, flickering hope, that pushed her forward. The last 6 months had been hell. Their mother had vanished suddenly one night, leaving only silence and an empty apartment. Their father had long since disappeared, lost to addiction and broken promises. Suddenly, the two children were alone, homeless, hungry, scared. Emma had been doing everything she could to protect Jacob, but the city's cold streets were no place for a baby. Their nightly shelters were often full, and the kindness of strangers was fleeting. Emma knew the hardest truth: she couldn't keep Jacob safe much longer. Her little brother needed more than a tired girl on the street. He needed a miracle. That's when Emma saw the man. Across the street, the towering glass building shimmered in the afternoon sun. Bradford Tower, home to Michael Bradford, one of the richest men in the country. His reputation was notorious. A billionaire with an iron will and a heart rumored to be cold as steel. Emma had heard stories from the shelter workers that Michael occasionally gave money to help children in need, but he was distant, disconnected from the suffering outside his walls. Still, Emma had nowhere else to turn. She crossed the busy street carefully, clutching Jacob tighter as the noise of the city grew louder around her. The grand revolving doors of Bradford Tower gleamed invitingly, an impossible place for a girl like her. "Stop!" a security guard called out as she approached. His face was stern, his voice sharp. "This is a private building. What are you doing here?" Emma's voice was barely a whisper, trembling with fear and determination. "I need to see Mr. Bradford. It's about my brother." The guard frowned, about to shoo her away, but then Michael Bradford himself emerged from the building, his sharp eyes catching sight of the small girl holding a baby. "What's going on here?" Michael's voice was calm but authoritative. Emma looked up at him, her breath shaky. "Sir, my name's Emma. My baby brother, he's sick and we have nowhere to go. I want to give him to you. He needs help, someone who can keep him safe." Michael's eyes narrowed, stunned by her words. "You want to give me your baby brother?" "Yes, please," Emma pleaded. "I can't take care of him anymore. Please help him." For a moment, the busy street around them seemed to disappear. Michael knelt down, looking deep into Emma's tired eyes. There was a flicker of something: surprise, concern, maybe even compassion. "Come with me," he said quietly. Emma hesitated, then nodded. She held Jacob closer as she followed Michael into the tower, stepping into a world she'd only dreamed of, a world that might just save them both. The sleek elevator hummed softly as it carried Emma and Michael up to one of the highest floors in Bradford Tower. The air inside was warm, a stark contrast to the cold streets Emma had left behind. Her grip on baby Jacob tightened, partly out of comfort, and partly because everything around her felt surreal. Michael studied Emma quietly, his sharp blue eyes now softer, though still guarded. He wasn't used to encounters like this. A 10-year-old homeless girl walking into his office, offering up her baby brother like a sacrifice. But beneath his usual steel exterior, something stirred deep inside him, something he hadn't felt in years. The elevator doors slid open to reveal a spacious, sunlit office lined with bookshelves and modern art. A thick leather chair sat behind a massive desk cluttered with papers and a sleek laptop. Michael gestured for Emma to sit on the plush couch nearby, but she stayed standing, clutching Jacob protectively. "Why don't you tell me what happened?" Michael asked gently, kneeling to meet her gaze. Emma swallowed hard. My mom, she left us. I don't know where she went. And my dad, he's not around anymore. I tried to take care of Jacob, but I don't have a home, or food or anything. Sometimes I think, maybe he'd be better off with someone else. Her voice cracked. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she blinked them away fiercely. Michael's heart clenched. He remembered his own childhood, how, despite all his wealth now, he had started with nothing. His parents had died when he was young, and he'd been shuffled through foster homes before making his way on his own. The pain in Emma's voice was something he knew too well. Emma, you did something very brave coming here, Michael said softly. But I want you to know one thing, your brother isn't a burden. He's a life to be protected. And so are you. Emma's eyes widened in disbelief. No one had ever said that to her before. Michael stood and walked to a sideboard, pouring 2 glasses of water. I'm going to call some people who can help us, he said, handing one to Emma. She took it hesitantly and sipped. Within minutes, a woman entered the room, a social worker named Claire Matthews. She was warm and kind, with a calming presence that made Emma feel a little less alone. Claire explained they could get Jacob medical care and find temporary shelter for both of them. But what Emma really needed, she said, was someone willing to fight for her and her brother's future. Michael looked at Emma. I want to help. But it's going to take more than money. It's going to take time, patience, and trust. Emma felt tears spill down her cheeks. No one had ever offered to stay by her side like that before. Over the next few days, Michael's team arranged for Emma and Jacob to move into a safe place, a small apartment funded by his foundation. Medical checkups showed Jacob was underweight and vulnerable to infections, but with care, he would recover. Emma stayed close, never leaving her brother's side. The billionaire's world was so different from the streets, filled with luxury and power. Yet, with Emma and Jacob, Michael felt something he hadn't felt in a long time: purpose. One evening, Michael found Emma sitting quietly by the window, watching the city lights twinkle below. He sat beside her. Emma, what do you want for your life? He asked. Emma thought about it. I want to go to school again. I want Jacob to be healthy. I want us to be a family, even if it's not like before. Michael smiled. We'll make sure of that. For the first time since she'd been alone, Emma dared to hope. The apartment was small but warm. It smelled faintly of fresh linen and the faint hint of baby powder, a world away from the cold, damp nights Emma and Jacob had endured on the streets. Emma watched as Jacob slowly gained weight, his cheeks filling out and his tiny fingers curling around hers with growing strength. Michael Bradford made sure they had everything they needed, but he knew that money alone wouldn't fix the scars Emma and Jacob carried. He visited often, his presence a quiet reminder that they weren't alone anymore. Emma's world was shifting, but she wasn't sure she was ready to fully believe in this new reality. At school, she struggled to catch up after months of absence. The classrooms were noisy and intimidating, the kids wary of the girl with the tired eyes and threadbare clothes. But Emma was determined. She wanted to learn, to prove that her past didn't define her. Michael arranged for a private tutor, Mrs. Harper, who was patient and kind. She helped Emma with reading and math, but more importantly, she listened when Emma spoke about her fears, about losing Jacob, about being abandoned again. Emma, Mrs. Harper said gently one afternoon, you're one of the strongest kids I've ever met. You survived when things were hardest. That shows how brave you are. Emma's eyes shimmered with tears. For the first time, she let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, she could have a future. Meanwhile, Michael was battling his own demons. Helping Emma and Jacob had unearthed memories of his own childhood, memories he tried to bury beneath his empire of success. He realized that wealth was meaningless without connection. One evening, Michael invited Emma and Jacob to his sprawling estate on the outskirts of the city. The mansion was filled with light and warmth, filled with the echoes of laughter and life, things Emma had only seen in storybooks. Jacob's eyes widened as he explored the large rooms, and Emma smiled at the sight of her brother's wonder. But beneath the joy was a quiet worry. Could she really belong here? Could she trust that this life was real? Michael noticed her hesitation. He knelt beside her in the garden, his voice soft. "Emma, I know this all feels overwhelming. But you're not alone. We'll take this one step at a time." That night, as Jacob slept peacefully in a crib by Emma's bed, she allowed herself to hope. She dreamed of a future where they were safe, loved, and together. But life's journey is never simple. One afternoon, as Emma played in the garden with Jacob, a social worker from the past showed up unexpectedly, a reminder that their fragile new world was still vulnerable to the harsh realities outside. Emma's heart pounded as she saw the woman standing at the gate of Michael's estate. Claire Matthews, the social worker who had first helped them, but now with a look Emma hadn't seen before, serious, urgent. "Emma, can we talk?" Claire asked gently. Michael approached, a concerned frown on his face. "What's going on?" Claire took a deep breath. "There's been a complaint from the foster care agency. They're questioning the arrangements. They want to ensure Emma and Jacob are properly protected." Emma felt the fragile hope she'd built wobble. She looked at Michael, who took a steadying breath and placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We'll handle this," he promised. Over the next weeks, Emma had to face endless questions, home inspections, and interviews, each one chipping away at her fragile peace. The past seemed determined to pull her back. But Michael was there every step, fighting for her and Jacob as fiercely as he did for his business empire. He hired the best lawyers and spoke personally to the agencies, vowing no one would take Jacob away from Emma. Their bond was unbreakable. Through the ordeal, Emma learned what trust truly meant. It wasn't just about promises. It was about actions, standing up for each other even when it was hard. One day, after a long meeting, Emma sat quietly with Michael in his office. "Why are you doing this for us?" she asked softly. Michael smiled, eyes reflecting something deeper than business acumen. "Because you reminded me what really matters. Family isn't about blood or money, it's about love and commitment. You and Jacob gave me that chance." Emma's tears came then, but this time they were different, tears of relief, of gratitude, of the healing power of kindness. Slowly, the world began to feel less cold. Jacob blossomed under Emma's care and Michael's support. Emma returned to school full-time, excelling with the help of Mrs. Harper. She even began dreaming of college, of a future she hadn't dared imagine. Michael watched as the siblings thrived, feeling a warmth he'd never known before. But just as life seemed to settle, an unexpected call shattered their fragile peace, news that would challenge everything they'd fought for. The phone call came late in the evening, shattering the quiet peace of Michael's office. His face grew pale as he listened. Emma, sitting nearby, watched him closely, sensing the weight behind his expression. "It's from an attorney," Michael said finally, voice heavy. "There's someone from your mother's side, Emma. They've been searching for you and Jacob." Emma's heart skipped. For years, she had no idea if her mother was alive or dead. The thought that family from her mother's side might exist was both terrifying and hopeful. Michael reassured her. "We'll meet them together. Whatever happens, I'm here." Days later, Emma and Jacob met a woman named Sarah Thompson, their mother's younger sister. She was kind but worn by years of hardship herself, and she explained that she'd only recently discovered Emma and Jacob's existence after their mother's passing. Sarah wanted to help, but Emma was uncertain. This woman was a stranger, yet she carried the blood of family. Michael watched Emma wrestle with her feelings, her loyalty torn between the new life she was building and the fragments of a family she never knew. In the weeks that followed, Sarah became part of their story, visiting often, bringing gifts and stories from the past. Slowly, Emma's heart softened. She realized family wasn't about perfection, but about second chances. One bright spring morning, Michael stood with Emma and Jacob in the garden of his estate. Sunlight warmed their faces, and the air was filled with the sweet scent of blooming flowers. Emma held Jacob close, looking up at Michael with a smile. "Thank you," she whispered. Michael shook his head, eyes shining with emotion. No, thank you. You saved me as much as I saved you. Emma's journey from the cold streets to this moment was nothing short of a miracle, a testament to the power of compassion and the unexpected places kindness can come from. Her story, shared across the city, touched countless hearts. It reminded everyone that no matter how dark the night, hope can shine through, sometimes in the smallest, bravest acts. And for Emma and Jacob, it was just the beginning of a new life, filled with love, hope, and endless possibilities.